everyone, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to talk about how to plan out your coloring pages. It seems that a lot of us tend to get very overwhelmed when it comes down to choosing our coloring pages and which book we want to color from, what page we want to color, what medium we want to use, which pencil set we want to use, and all of that. And I know that a lot of us just choose a page and envision what it's going to look like in the end, and we get a little bit through the page and we start to see that it's not turning out the way that I had originally envisioned it, and so we put everything down and we give up on the page and we go on to something else. And so I wanted to be able to make this video today to share with you the exact process that I go through when I am choosing the book that I'm going to color from, the page that I'm going to color, my pencils that I'm going to use, and down to whatever colors I want to put on the page. And I just wanted to go over the entire process step by step in this video in hopes that I take away a little bit of that overwhelm, especially for those of you that are beginners and just starting out and really just feeling that. So if you enjoy videos like this, please do make sure you subscribe to my channel and also turn on your bell notifications. If you check the description box down below, you will find links down there to my Facebook group, as well as my email list, my Etsy store, and also my Patreon if you would like to support me over there. Let's go ahead and get into this video. As you can see, I have a few different books laying here, and it really boils down to exactly what it is you want to color. And you need to really ask yourself what is inspiring you at the moment? What do you want to color? Are you into butterflies or flowers? Do you want to color a portrait? Do you want to practice coloring skin or hair? Do you want to color flowers? Do you want to color something that is very fantasy-like or mystical? And you really just need to sit and think about what it is that is going to bring you some kind of inspiration, so that once you get the pencil down on the paper, you continue to keep coloring. I mean, do you want to color animals? Do you want to color a bird? Do you want to color bears? I mean, there are so many things, and I've got a few different books here that I am going to show you because, I don't know, maybe you will find a book that you really like and that you want to purchase for yourself, or maybe you have one of these books at home in your coloring book collection, or maybe you will discover something that you want to color that you really never thought of coloring before. And I have a little bit of something here that falls under every different, I would say every different genre of the different things that you can color. So the first book, let me move some of these other ones out of the way. I have Flora by Maria Trolle, and these books are one of my favorites, one of my absolute favorite books, because there are flowers in here, there are butterflies in here, there are girls in here, fairies. You have so many different things. There's pictures in here with water, just so many different things. So I'm going to show you just a few of the different pages. I'm not going to do complete flip throughs of these books because I want to be able to get into the rest of the video, and I want this book to, or this video, to be very, very thorough. So if we look through this book, we can see this is going to give you an idea of what Maria Trolle's books are like, because all of them are pretty much the same and they have the same type of artwork. You could see her art style if I just flip through here just a little bit. And if you are into coloring flowers in realism and you want the colors to be the same as what you would be able to pull up in a Google image or something, if you flip to the back of the book, you can see that she has the scientific names for every single page within the book. So you can go to Google and you can Google it and pull up a realistic image, and say you wanted to color this flower, you could color flowers exactly as they would look in real life. Now you've got two little owls on this page, which are absolutely adorable. And then see, we even have pages where we have, if you are just starting to color skin and you're just wanting to learn and you don't want to color a full portrait, these books are really, really great because you have people in these books, but they are just a portion of the page in a lot of the pages. Like over here, if you look at this page, you'll see that you have another person, and you could just sort of practice your skin and your shadows and where everything gets laid. But if I just flip through this a little bit, there is a lot of different things in here. We've got a little fairy right here, and if you just wanted to practice coloring wings on a fairy on a smaller scale, something like this would be perfect. We've got a cute little imaginary type house here, a little teapot house. We have a bird over here on this page if you wanted to color birds. Really think that in these books there is a lot of a little bit of everything. You've got butterflies, you've got fairies, you've got people, leaves and flowers, and just a little bit of everything. We had the little imaginary house. We've got pages like this where we've got the black background. So if you are not into doing backgrounds and you wanted to color a page that had a black background, where you just wanted your pages to, or your images on your page to really, really pop, you can do that with these pages. Once you color these flowers with the background up against it, it is going to make your flowers really, really pop and just create a really dramatic look. But even here we have a little house. She has quite a few houses, or little houses that look like this in her books. You've got a little stone pathway here, and you could practice a tree. Over here we have a frog. It's more of an imaginary type frog with a little crown on his head. So if I just flip through here, you'll get an idea of exactly what type of things are in her books. So let me go ahead and show you another one. Now, if you were in the mood to want to color portraits, this book here, Flowers and Gems by Grazia Salvo, this is a fantastic book. I really, really, really love this book. It's got wonderful, wonderful paper, but if you look at this book, you could see that it is spiral bound, and this book is available actually on Amazon. You don't have to order this from her Etsy store, so you could get this right away. I believe it's on Prime if you're in the US, and it's got the perforated pages. But this is what her images look like, and I don't really need to flip through the whole book on this one, but if you wanted to color a portrait and you wanted to learn how to color grayscale, the grayscale you can use as a guide and just use it to really know where you are going to lay your highlights and your shadows and do your shading and all of that. And you would just use it as a guide to where you would look at the darker gray, and in the areas where the darker gray is, you would lay your darker colors, and then in the areas where you had the lighter colors, you would, or the lighter grays, you would lay your highlight color in those areas. But most of her pages look the same. You've got some that are full portraits, and then you have some where they are more spread out to where you would get to practice coloring clothing and things like that. Here we have another full portrait, and these are really great too because, like the book says, it's called Flowers and Gems. So you are not only going to get to color portraits and practice your portraiture coloring, you are going to also be able to get a little bit of practice with the flowers, and then a lot of them, as in the title, gems, you will see that there is a lot of jewelry in this book too, so you could pull out your glitter pens, and that's what I do. I love using my glitter pens in this book, and I love making these gems in the book look really, really realistic. But this is a great book if you want to color portraits. Just to show you what they turn out like in the end after you're done coloring them, this is one of the pages that I finished coloring, and I actually even put glitter on here on her eyes. I love to do that. I get out my stickles. I love, love, love my stickles, but I will do that and just really make the eye makeup on the girls that I color just a little bit more intensified and give them a little bit of that bling and that pop. But I used a color palette for this one, and I love the way that it turned out. So that is Flowers and Gems. This is a really great book if you want to practice portraits, color hair and skin and things like that. Here I have Home Sweet Home. If this is something actually that I just very recently got into, and I don't know why I never was into it before, but I just all of a sudden wanted to start coloring you know, like interiors and things like that. And I've actually recently purchased some other books that are just scenery books and things of that nature. But this one is Creative Haven, and this is Home Sweet Home. And I do want to mention these books, this is not Amazon paper. They have their own paper. They are not Amazon printed books, but I know a lot of people have asked that, so I just wanted to mention it in the video. But if we flip through here, we can see that there is going to be a lot of practice coloring furniture. Here you have the wood and the practice where you could color some texture. On this page, we have a kitchen scene, and we even have a dog here. So if you wanted to practice your skills with fur, you can do that on this page. You're coloring, you know, the room and the interior, as well as being able to color an animal. And you still even have some flowers here on the page to practice that. I'm noticing as I flip through here, there are quite a few animals, and they are just sort of blended in with all of the interior. Here we have a window scene where you could see right out the window. We have a little butterfly here. You could practice coloring trees. We've got all the food lying on the table, so that is food practice right there. But these books are really great for beginners because there are so many different things in these books that you can learn how to color, because they've got just so many things in each page. Like we've got just sort of like a scenic image, and then we've got the little cat here in the window. We still have part of a house. We've got some flowers hanging from the flower pot. We've got these wicker chairs, so you could practice coloring wicker. That was Home Sweet Home by Creative Haven. This one is by Coloring Book Cafe, and this one is called Beautiful Birds. Now, I don't know, I've colored a few birds, and I have a couple different tutorials on my channel coloring birds, and I plan on doing another one, but this is one of my new favorite books. I love the images inside here, so I wanted to be able to share this one with you because and I know I've actually showed it in 2 previous videos, but I thought it would be a great addition to this video because I know that when a lot of us sit down and we're like, okay, what do we want to color? You don't necessarily think, I want to color a bird, but birds are fantastic practice because there are so many colors in a bird. They can be so many different colors. You can pull up a Google image and you can try to copy it. You can choose a tropical bird. You could choose a bird that is more monochromatic and has a lot more reds in it. Let me go ahead and just show you a couple of the images in here. And these books do too, I want to mention, tell you on each page what the bird is. So if you wanted to color a realistic bird, you can grab this book and pull up a Google image and be able to color the bird exactly the way that it looks in the Google image. And a lot of times when you're coloring, that it really helps to find a photo so that you can sort of copy it and bring those colors to your coloring page and just use it as a guide. So this is what the pages look like, and there's just a lot of birdhouses in here, so you have a chance to practice coloring texture and adding color to these beautiful birdhouses as well as the beautiful birds. And the birds in here all look realistic. So if you're not into wanting to color something that is more fantasy-like and you want to color something that is more realistic, you're going to get a lot more realistic birds in this book and the opportunity to learn how to color realism. And again, I've already done a flip through on this book, so I'm not going to flip through the entire book, but I just wanted to give you an idea, and I've got 2 more books that I'm going to show you. I try to pick things that were, you know, all the different genres of coloring and all of the different objects that you can choose to color within one book. But this is Joanna Basford's World of Flowers. This is my absolute favorite book of all time. I know we all love coloring flowers. If you are feeling like coloring flowers, this is the book for you. I'll show you a couple of the images in here if you've not yet seen this book, but I've got tons of flower tutorials on my channel, all coloring in this book. So, you know what? I actually have a playlist of all of the flower coloring videos I've ever done, and I will link that in the upper right hand corner so that if you want to get some flower practice in, you can check out that playlist. and find lots of helpful hints there and lots of tutorials. But there is probably every kind of flower you could possibly ever think of in this book. And another one, like I said, that is really great is the Maria Trolle books, because it's going to have that list in the back where you can color those and just get ideas for your colors. But if I flip through this, you could see there are so many different flowers in this book. And if you want to color nothing but flowers, oh, and leaves too. Leaves is another big one, and we find those in so many coloring books. And I think I actually put all of my leaf tutorials in a playlist too, and if I remember, I will link that in the upper right hand corner as well. Now I want to show you this page. If you are you know, not wanting to color a full page layout and you just wanted a little bit of practice, this page right here, these pages, I use these pages to try out any new colored pencil sets that I have just received, just to sort of get familiar with them and see how they work and see how they blend together, and just so that I could see the final outcome on any one object without having to worry about coloring an entire full page. But this book is also great for that. So if you are someone that gets very quickly overwhelmed with a coloring page, I would pick up this book in a heartbeat, because there are a few different pages in this book. Even like this page here, you've got different individual squares, and so it sort of sets everything apart. And if you don't want to color the whole entire page all at once and just get it done, you can focus on just one square at a time and color that. And like this book here, I've got a couple copies of this book. I think I actually have 3 copies of this book because I've used it for so many tutorials on my YouTube channel, and I still like to pull it out and try out some of the images on my own and test out my colored pencils, and sometimes even just sit down and relax with this book. Here is another page where it is sort of the same thing, where you've got just one individual circle here with some flowers in it. And so you could just sit down and just say, okay, well, I'm just going to tackle this one little space right here for now. And this really, when I tell you this takes away the overwhelm of coloring, if you just want to test out your colors or test out whatever pencil set you're using, or you even just want to sit down and you don't want to spend a whole lot of time, this totally takes away all of the overwhelm. And then when you're ready to come back and you want to color another circle on the same page, then come back and color another circle on the same page. And I would suggest when you're coloring a page like this to try all different colors on every different circle and see what you come up with, and really just try to practice your color combinations. Put together maybe a few color combinations for each one and only set aside just those pencils, and tell yourself, okay, I'm limited to just these pencils, and that is all I'm going to use, and I'm just going to sit down and I'm going to focus on this circle using just these pencils, and it should take away a lot of the overwhelm because you don't have so many choices. And let's go ahead and move on to the next one. This here is Dragon Life by Deborah Muller. And this book, I don't know, y'all. There's something about this book. When I first received this book, I was thinking this really is not, I don't know, not something that I normally color. I think that I've ever only colored one dragon, and it was in a Jade Summer. And although I really enjoyed coloring that dragon in the Jade Summer book, I've never gone back and colored another dragon. But I showed this book in one of my recent videos, and so many people were like, oh my gosh, I have to have that book. And I still have people sending me messages and making comments in my Facebook group about how they have to have this book. There's just something about this book. I don't know. Like, I think Deborah Muller just maybe put a little bit of magic into this book or something. Because even though some of us that never thought I'm going to color this, we are just like, I have to color this. And I don't know. I am going to color a page in this book, definitely for sure. But I don't know. If you're not familiar with Deborah Muller, she has a little bit of something for everyone. And she comes out with a lot of coloring books. She comes out with them very often. She is busy, 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 always creating. She even has books with portraits, and some of my absolute favorites are her portrait books. I wanted to be able to bring this one out for the mystical genre because I thought that it was just really fitting, because a lot of us, when we think of mystical or fantasy-like things, we think more of like fairies and mermaids and things of that sort. We don't necessarily think of dragons, and not necessarily cutesy dragons. Like, a lot of these are just very cutesy, whimsical dragons. And I don't know, there's just something about this book, really something about this book. And it's not just dragons. She's got a little dragonfly up here, which is fitting, and a little frog down here at the bottom. And look at here. There's bubbles on this page. Oh my goodness. I have a bubble tutorial on my channel, and I will link that up in the upper right hand corner. But bubbles and coloring bubbles is so much fun, and it is so easy for anyone to learn. And see, here we have a fairy too. So there's more in here than just dragons, but this book is so adorable. And somebody shared a page they were coloring in this book, and in my Facebook group, and it came across my news feed, and it was one of the first things. You know how when you're flipping through your personal news feed, it just popped up right away, and it just really caught my attention because the colors that were used in the page, oh my gosh, I can't remember who it was that colored it. I wish I could remember so I could give them credit and even maybe show their page in this video, because it was beautiful. It really, really was. So that is Dragon Life by Deborah Muller. Now that I've given you lots of different ideas of some of the different things that you can color when you're planning out your page, it's time to decide on exactly what you're going to color. So it's time to decide the book and the page that we're going to color. I do want to mention that I pulled out all of these books just to give you all some ideas of the different things there are to color. I don't necessarily think that you should pull out a bunch of books, throw them all on your table, and make yourself completely overwhelmed, because that's exactly what it'll do. If you pulled out 6 or 8 books at a time and laid them all out on your table and started flipping through every single book, you're instantly going to get overwhelmed, and that's not my point with this video. It's probably best just to decide right away what it is you're feeling like coloring, rather than pulling out a whole bunch of books, and just pull out one book that you know fits whatever it is that you want to color and flip through that book. Say I decided that what I wanted to color today, or what I wanted to start coloring for my new page, or what I even wanted to practice on, because I know that's what a lot of us are doing as beginners, is we are still practicing, we're still trying to increase our coloring skills while we learn how to blend our colors together and choose our colors and all of that. So if I decided that I wanted to color flowers, I would probably go to Joanna Basford's World of Flowers. So let's go ahead and move all of these other books out of here, because we don't need those. We decided that we are going to color flowers today. So this is the only book that we need. And so we are going to take this book and we are going to decide what page we're going to color. So the way that you decide what page you're going to color is you open the book and you just start flipping through. And you wait until something just really catches your eye. So I'm going to show you exactly what I do. As I'm flipping through, I just look at all of the pages, and I sort of just ask myself, especially in this book, do I want to color just one small image on the page, or do I want to tackle a whole entire page from the beginning to the end? And like I said earlier, this book is really, really great for that. But as I look through it, like I could look at this page and I can see, okay, this is more like a flower wreath. So there's not going to be as much to color on this page, and this will give me an opportunity to also fill in with a background or practice my backgrounds, or even just leave it blank after I colored everything in. I could even choose that I want to color just one flower on the page, and maybe I looked at this flower and this flower is bringing me some kind of inspiration, and I am instantly getting ideas for what colors I want to put on that flower. So maybe this is the page that I would like to start with, and maybe I just want to start with just that one flower and tackle one flower at a time. And that's the really great thing about this book too, is that you can decide you want to color a page like this that has a whole wreath of flowers, and you can tackle just one flower at a time. You don't have to necessarily sit down and decide that you are gonna color the entire page. And then we have pages like this, like I showed you earlier, to where you can decide, okay, I just want to color this flower, and I've done that many times, and I will just choose my colors and decide to tackle that flower and only that flower, and after I finish that flower, I'm done. And that gives me a little bit of time to sit down, turn on some music in the background, focus on just coloring this flower, and just sort of be with myself and relax and de-stress and whatever it is I need to do. So say I got to this page and I stopped and I instantly looked at this page and I started thinking, okay, I want to color that butterfly shades of purples and greens and blues, and maybe add a little bit of yellow down at the bottom part, in the bottom part of the wings. Or I looked at this flower and I saw, I don't know, like a lot of reds and yellows. Whatever page that you stop on and you instantly start getting ideas, that is the page that inspired you, and that is the page that you should color. So that is when you sit down, you leave it on that page, you stop flipping through the book, and you decide, okay, this is where I'm stopping. This is what I'm going to color. This page is bringing me some sort of inspiration because I'm instantly getting thoughts of, you know, this is how I want to color this. This is what I want it to look like when it's done, or these are the colors that I want to add to this page. And I feel like I can use my Prismacolors and really bring out, I don't know, this leaf right here. Or maybe you thought of some colors that you have in another pencil set. Maybe you want to bring out your Holbeins and you want to color the entire page in just pastels. But when you start getting that feeling of a little bit of inspiration and all of those ideas just start flooding your head, that is the page that you want to color, and that is where you stop and you just pull out your pencils or whatever medium you want to use, and that is what you color. That is how you relieve a lot of the overwhelm that comes with choosing your coloring pages and planning out exactly what you're going to do. The next step of planning out your coloring page is to choose your pencils. Don't go grabbing a whole bunch of different pencils from a whole bunch of different sets. Try to choose a pencil set that you are most familiar with. Now, in this case, I have my Prismacolors. I am most familiar with my Prismacolors. In this case, I have my 120 set of Brutfuner colored pencils, and I am becoming much more familiar with these pencils and the colors and everything about them. Now, the set that you are most familiar with is the set of colored pencils that you know the colors, you know what blends well together. You've created a lot of color combinations with those colors and really just took the time to practice with those colors. Very recently, I did a video where I brought y'all a bunch of different color combinations, and these are the color combinations that I came up with. I will link this video in the upper right hand corner if you would like to see that. And this sheet that I used for my color combinations is available in my Etsy store. I will have a link to my Etsy store down in the description box below. But it's a really great idea just to sit and grab one of these sheets and sit and practice creating colored combinations so that you get more familiar with any one of your colored pencil sets. I am also in the process of creating a lot more of these colored pencil combination sheets, and I won't just have combinations of 3, but as of right now I've created up to combinations of 8, and I think I'm going to move into 9 and 10 so that everyone could just really practice, and those will be released and up in my Etsy store at the same time I release my new interactive workbook on color blending and color combinations. I am almost done with that, and so that will be available very soon, and you'll be able to purchase all of the colored pencil combination charts along with the tutorial workbook as a bundle, or you can go to my Etsy store and you'll have the option of purchasing just the whole bunch of colored pencil combination charts from probably 3 color combinations all the way up to probably 10. So that is going to be available for you very soon. But as you're getting familiar with your colored pencil sets, I always recommend doing this and just sitting down and working on combining your colors and learning the colors in the colored pencil set, whether it's Prismacolors or polychromos or a budget-friendly set. But the ones that I am most familiar with is my Prismacolors. So if I wanted to have a very relaxing coloring experience and I didn't want to be overwhelmed, I am automatically going to go and pull out my Prismacolors. Now, if you wanted to add other mediums, that's fine too, but don't overwhelm yourself in the beginning. If you decide that you want to add other mediums to your coloring page, pull those other mediums out as you get a little bit of inspiration to be able to do so as you're coloring the page or even any particular object on the page. Don't overwhelm yourself and start pulling a whole bunch of things out. Just have your coloring book and your pencils, and that is all you need. You could even pull out the other mediums in the very end after you finish the entire page and decide what you want to add to it. This is my 120 set of square Brute Fooner pencils, and if you want to start learning how to use these and get much more familiar with this set, this is a really great set to do that and also be able to get a little bit more familiar with using an oil-based pencil. They perform just like an oil-based pencil, but I believe, or at least I feel like, they don't have as much of a learning curve to them as something like a polychromos does, and it's going to be much less overwhelming to learn with something like this rather than learning with something like a polychromos. To me, the polychromos have quite a bit of a learning curve, and for most beginners or someone who gets very easily overwhelmed when you're coloring, it's probably not a good idea to start there, and you could get this whole entire set for like $30 or somewhere thereabout. And they always run specials and they always have coupons, and if you're in my Facebook group, you know that I always, every time there's a coupon or these drop in price, I will always make a post and let everybody know. And I've actually recently been doing the same thing on my community tab on my YouTube. So if you are looking for deals or you're looking to get a new colored pencil set, then always check my community tab. But I do want to say, don't get overwhelmed with buying a whole bunch of different pencils. I would suggest, to alleviate that overwhelm, to have one wax-based set and one oil-based set. And if you want to learn, this is the set. If you want to learn how to use oil-based pencils and you've been using wax-based pencils, this is the set that I would recommend to start with, because they're still soft, sort of like a Prismacolor, and you could sort of start with these and then move into something like a polychromos. If you purchase this set, you will have a whole lot of help with this set, because I already put these in perfect color family order for you, and you will be able to follow along with that video and put all of your colors in color family order, because you know that I always suggest to all of you, even when you are planning out your coloring page, always keep your swatch chart of all of the colors laid out right next to you, so that you are not struggling to choose what colors are going to mix well with what other colors. And I also recently made available in my Etsy store the swatch sheet that is all colored in with the actual English names and the numbers and everything else already colored in. And I have heard from people that have already purchased that it prints out beautifully. And I thought that it would not print out as beautiful as it actually is. If you've got a decent printer, you are going to actually be able to get a really good printout. So if you don't want to swatch out your colored pencils and that overwhelms you, I have done the work for you and I made it available in my Etsy store. Now it's time to decide what colors you want to put down on your coloring page. And I want to share with you Sarah Renee Clark's color catalog. This is volume 2. There's volume 2 and volume 1, and then there are color companions that are available that go along with all of these color palettes. Now, I have videos talking about this at length, so I'll just explain it to you really quickly and show you really quickly how it works and how I would decide what I want to do on this page over here that I decided I want to color. So this is volume 2. There's also volume 1, and you can choose by or browse by colors, by keywords, or by collections. So if I'm looking at this and I decided I wanted to color this flower, all I had to do was click here on keywords. It's going to take me directly to all of the keywords. And of course, if we look right here, I see flowers. So I would just click on flowers and it's going to take me right here to all of the color palettes that show flowers. And I think I remember when I was talking about it originally, I said that I saw a lot of oranges and yellows and maybe some reds in this flower. And so if I wanted to stick to those colors, all I had to do was we could zoom in. So we could zoom in and zoom out. Now you could print this color catalog out if you want to. I choose not to. I like looking at it right on my phone or even my iPad. If I'm not filming a video, I'll usually have my iPad sitting right here. And so I could see it on the bigger screen. And it's really, really helpful. And a lot of times I will pick the color palette and then I'll just take a screenshot so that I could save the screenshot in my photos and pull it up at any time so I could go back and look at it and see what colors I'm trying to focus on for any one given page. So if I decided that I wanted to color that flower shades of oranges and reds and yellows, I would just look through here and see what I could find. Now this one really stands out to me, this one down here in the bottom. So I would just click on that and it would bring me straight to color palette 427. And so I've got a few different shades of reds, oranges, and some yellows in this one. And when you're looking at a color palette, you don't necessarily have to look at all of the colors. This one comes with 5 colors, but like this black over here, the black is being pulled in from the background so that the flower really stands out. Like I was telling you earlier in that, or demonstrating earlier in that Maria Trolle book where you've got the black backgrounds. You could see here how a black background really makes reds and oranges and yellows really just pop and stand out. But that's actually a perfect example. But if I was looking at this, I would just match up my Prismacolors if that was the pencil set that I wanted to use. And I would probably stick to these 4 colors here and just pull some colors out that I wanted to add to my flower. Now you don't have to base all of your color palettes on a whole entire page. You could actually take your color palettes and switch them up as you go through the page and color your flowers different colors. Now say I decided that I wanted to color my flower a different color. Say I wanted a flower with maybe blues and teals and colors like that. Then all I would do is I would go back home, and this color palette catalog, it is extremely interactive. So that is what is really, really cool about it, because all you have to do is click around and it'll take you exactly where you want to go. Now, if I were to print this out, I actually lose the interactive part of it. And so, I don't know, to me, that takes away the most important feature, because I really, really like this feature. So if I decided that I wanted to color this other flower here, shades of blues and teals and colors like that, I could also search by colors. And so I could just choose a color here. Here are my blues. And so I could just choose one of those that inspired me. Say I wanted turquoise color palettes. This is going to take me straight to turquoise instead of choosing necessarily by theme where I chose flowers. So I could look at some of these and I could decide exactly which one I want to use. Here's one here that has all different shades of teals in it. We can see that we've got many different shades of teals here, and they're beautiful shades of teal. And now, just because this is coming from what looks like a picture of maybe the ocean or some water or something like that, that doesn't necessarily matter. You can still use these colors and bring these colors to your flower and create an absolutely beautiful flower. You always don't even have to follow the color palette exact. You can throw in another color, maybe a shade of blue or whatever it is that you wanted to add to your flower. But I really feel like color palettes help to take away a lot of the overwhelm when it comes to coloring, just because you can pick just a certain amount of pencils, lay your pencils to the side, and tell yourself those are the only pencils I'm going to use, so that you could set aside your colored pencil set and not have to worry about the overwhelm of throwing more colors in. To make it even less overwhelming, you can purchase an add-on for the color catalogs. This is the Color Catalog Companion. This one is for Prismacolors, and they come with a whole bunch of other colored pencils and even Copics, which are, of course, alcohol markers. But this will give you a full list of all of the color palettes from both catalogs, so from Color Catalog 1 and Color Catalog 2. I believe there is 250 color palettes in the first one, and then another 250 in the second one. If you remember the color palette we were looking at, it did have a number on it, and it is color palette 283. So then you would just flip back to your coloring companion, and the one for Prismacolors is if that's what you decide you are going to use. And here it is right here. And so it is going to tell you exactly, let me zoom this in just a little bit more. It'd probably be better seen on camera on my iPad, but that's okay. But if we look at this, we can see that for each one, like this first box on the color palette, it is going to match up to Prismacolor PC 901. The next one is going to match up to PC 102. And then it gives you every number for each box on the color palette. I went ahead and pulled the colors from my Prismacolor set just to be able to show you how easy and convenient this tool can be if you add on the color companions. Now I've got my little color palette here that I chose for my flower that I want to color. And these are the colors it suggests. So my darkest color is going to be 901, so I have my indigo blue. I've got my 1027, which matches up to this one, and these matches are pretty much exact to the color. This one is 905, and that one is pretty close. And then we have 919, which it says matches up to this one. That one is also pretty close. And then we have like PC 1086, which matches up to this one. Now look at these colors together, how pretty they are. And I'm sure if I used these just to color that flower, it would turn out absolutely beautiful. If you check the description box down below, I will have a link down there if you're interested in grabbing these color catalogs or the color companion add-ons for yourself. But they are just an absolute wonderful tool, and it's just that one thing that I never knew I needed until I had it. Because I always used to be the one that would go online and I would search for color palettes and stuff, but this, the amount of convenience this gives me, it just makes it so less overwhelming, and the way that I could just flip around and it's interactive and I could find exactly what I need. And like if I'm coloring a flower, I could just click to search for the color palettes for a flower, or if I want a certain color, I could just do it for a certain color. It just makes it so much easier. Well, I hope y'all enjoyed this video, and that is the process that I go through every step of the way when I'm planning out a new coloring page. Planning out your coloring pages shouldn't ever be overwhelming. The actual process of coloring shouldn't ever be overwhelming, because this is a hobby that we do so that we could relax and just be with ourselves and maybe turn on some music in the background and really just relax and, you know, get more familiar with our pencils, put color down on the paper, and bring something beautiful to life. A lot of us tend to get overwhelmed because we feel like our page is supposed to start one way and stay that way. And that is not necessarily the process of coloring. Once you start putting your pencils down on your paper, it is not necessarily supposed to turn out the way that you had originally envisioned it. If you look at a page and you see in your mind what it's going to look like in the end, don't ever expect that that's how it's going to turn out when it's done, because as you continue to lay the colors down on the page and you get different ideas, your ideas are going to change as you go along, and that's what's supposed to happen, because that's part of the creative process. And I want all of you to understand that, because that is what I feel like makes so many beginner colorists scared, or gives them a fear of finishing the page, because they feel like it's supposed to turn out some kind of way, and it's just not doing that for them. So they get overwhelmed and they set it aside. And that's all part of the coloring process and the steps that you need to take as you're bringing your coloring page to life. The whole reason why we color is so that we can be creative and bring something beautiful to life on our coloring page. Everything that you've seen in this video will be linked in the description box below. I hope y'all have a wonderful day. Happy coloring. Bye.